A part of me is locked up in the past. I'm always looking back and never really.
What's up, YouTube? Welcome back to another video. And it's been a little bit, took a little break from content creation and had to recharge, so we're back. Anyways, I just wanted to make a video on my thought process on why I went with a 2019 Raptor. Now, I had a 2013 F-150 and I just love that truck. Had it for like 7.5 years. And I still really like that body style. I always knew I was going to upgrade to a Raptor eventually, but I just didn't know which one I was going to go with. The Gen 1, the Gen 2, or the Gen 3. The Gen 3 was pretty much ruled out because I didn't want to spend that much money, and at the time, the Gen 4s weren't even out yet, or I think they might have just started rolling out when I purchased this. And I kind of first thought maybe I'll get a Gen 1 Raptor. And I still really love the Gen 1 Raptors. I'm actually kind of thinking about possibly getting a Gen 1 Raptor along with having this one. But anyway, the main reason that I went to a Gen 2 was because if I went with the Gen 1, the interior is pretty similar to the 2013 F-150. And to me, after having my F-150 for 7.5 years, I felt like if I went to a Gen 1 Raptor, the interior is kind of the same with just some little updates, and that it wasn't going to feel as new of a truck to me. It was still going to kind of have that feel to it that my F-150 had. So right away I just knew, like, boom, I don't want the Gen 1. Gen 3, I just don't want to spend that much on a truck, and the Gen 2s can be had for a pretty reasonable price. Once I made the decision to buy the Gen 2 Raptor, I just went down a big old rabbit hole. I just started looking at the 2017s, the 18s, the 19s, and the 20s. And the biggest thing that I could tell you guys is just research and research. When I bought like a 2007 F-150 back in the day, it was a one owner. And I didn't really do like that much research on it. I just assumed that it was probably a good truck. Kind of turned into a nightmare, but the truck was good after I had a new motor put in it. I went ahead and just did as much research between looking at the Raptor forums on the internet and then looking at the Raptor Facebook pages. I kind of put together that the consensus was the cam phasers might fail. Unless you get like a late 2019 or 2020, those are the ones that have the updated cam phasers. So right away, you're like, I know getting into this truck, there's a possibility that I need cam phasers. And outside of that, it just seemed like there's some other little things that can go wrong. The biggest thing that drew me to go to a 2019 or 2020, it just seemed like 90% of the people on the forums were like, I had the 17, I had the 18, but when I went to the 19 with the live valve Fox shocks, it was night and day difference. I basically have it nailed down to I'm going to get a 2019 or a 2020. I still kept looking at 2017s, the 2018s. I was like, you know what? I just really want the truck with the live valves, plus the 19s had a couple other little upgrades that we'll talk about later. You can get a 17 or 18, and there's lots of people that are selling the shocks off of these trucks. You can buy the live valves off like Facebook Marketplace. And then what you do, if you want to put them on your 2017 or 18, you can buy like this E-click conversion. It basically bypasses the live valve part, and then you can manually adjust it. And I've heard you can actually get an even better ride by doing this. I kind of was in like a rut because I still was looking at 17s and 18s that were for sale. And then I was also looking at the 19s. So after kicking back and forth ideas on what I was going to do, so I started researching Raptors in the Midwest, just start researching just a whole big area, even if it's 9 hours away, just check to see what the prices are going for. It just seems like the 1920s resale value is a little higher, obviously because it's a newer truck, but it's also got newer updates that attract more people. Not to mention the live valves plus the little updates they did. It just made sense for me to try and track down a 2019, even though I still was on the verge of buying a 2018. So if you're in the same dilemma as me, and maybe you do purchase a 17 or 18, I never even drove one, so I don't even know what they ride like. But if you do drive the 17 or 18, it's probably going to have over 50,000 miles. It's probably going to have over 100,000 miles. So it might not ride as smooth as it once did. And a lot of people are sending their shocks in to get them rebuilt. Doesn't matter if it's the blue Fox shock or if it's the orange live valves. They need rebuilt about every 50,000 miles. I'm sitting at 76,000 right now, and I'm guessing mine have never been rebuilt. My truck still rides pretty good, but I'm assuming that if I had them redone, that it's going to ride even better yet. So don't let the live valves stop you from buying one. I've heard that even if with the blue shocks, especially after they're rebuilt, that they ride super smooth. Don't let that deter you from buying the 17 or 18, especially if you found a good deal.
A part of me is locked up in the past. I'm always looking.
Now, I'm thinking about getting a Gen 1 Raptor as well, and I'm probably going to get one that's got a little higher miles just because I don't want to pay a bunch for one with lower miles. It's just going to be a truck to kind of mess around with. So if I do go that route, it's going to have the Blue Fox shocks, which I'm going to have to guess is very similar to the 2017 and 18s. I'm assuming when I do find a Gen 1, it's going to have shocks that need rebuilt, so I'm probably going to send those in and get those redone, and then I can kind of update you guys on the ride quality versus the Gen 1 versus the Gen 2. This has the adaptive cruise. Now, so does the 17 and 18, but this has the stop and go. So it'll literally just stop and go when you're in traffic. I actually was able to use it for the first time when I was down in Texas. There was a lot of stop and go traffic on a bridge. This thing worked flawlessly. Before, I didn't care less if it had it, but now that I've been in stop and go traffic with this, I really love this feature. Otherwise, if the Raptors didn't have the live valve shocks on the 19s and 20s, I probably wouldn't have been too worried about having a 19 or 20. I would have went with either one. But reading the reviews and reading everybody that talked about how big of an upgrade it was to go to the Fox live valve on the 19, it just made sense for me to jump right into the 19. But if you're still sitting here and you just don't know what generation to buy, you're looking at the Gen 1, you're looking at the Gen 2, the Gen 3, the Gen 4. Which one should you buy? Honestly, the main reason that I did go to the Gen 2 outside of just wanting kind of a fresher interior update from my 2013 F-150, to me the Gen 2 just sticks out the most for looks. Like, the Gen 2 I just think might have been one of the all-time best styles of the Raptor. Now, that's going to be subjective to me, but the Gen 3s I still absolutely love. The Gen 4s I wasn't too big on the front end, but after I've seen them now for a while, I dig the Gen 4s actually. I think I like the Gen 4 more than the Gen 3. But that being said, I see people that have had the 2019, the 2020 Raptor, and they said they went to a Gen 3, and it is night and day difference on that truck, that it is well worth the upgrade. There's also people that have had a Gen 2 and a Gen 3 Raptor, and they went back to a Gen 1. They just wanted the simplicity, and they also wanted the V8 motor that the Gen 1 has. I think it's one of those things where if you just are someone that really loves Raptors or just off-road vehicles, you just need to get one, get in one, and then go from there and decide. Or just, you know, get a Gen 2, get a Gen 1. I'm thinking about getting a Gen 1. I don't know, I just absolutely love the Raptor trucks, and I don't think you can go wrong with any generation. But for me right now, the Gen 2 is absolutely my favorite truck right now. And the other reason that I wanted to go with the 2019 is the aluminum oil pan. Now, there are some 2018s where I think later on in the year, they switched them over to the aluminum oil pan. So the 17s and most of the 18s have the plastic oil pan. I've heard of those warping over time. I've heard a couple other people say that they've gotten it replaced like 2 times, and they want to switch to aluminum, but it's a big ordeal. And if you have the warranty, most Ford dealerships are not willing to swap you up to the aluminum oil pan because it's quite the process to actually swap it over. So that was just kind of the other thing too, you know, by going to a 2019, I got live valves, the aluminum oil pan, and I actually really do like that stop and go feature. Even though I don't use it a ton right now, when I do get in stop and go traffic, it comes in clutch. All right, so like I said, guys, the main reasons that I went with this 2019 was the live valve shocks, knowing that all the 2019s have the aluminum oil pan. It just seemed like resale value is going to be a little better when it comes time to sell this thing, and the stop and go feature, which we'll give you guys a little demonstration on how good this actually works. Wrigley, should we give him a little demonstration? Are you bored out of your mind? Yes, he is. So the first thing you're going to want to make sure you have on is go over to cruise control, adaptive. So now let's try to get into some traffic. First you're going to want to come over here, turn your cruise control on, and we got to get our speed set. So right now it is just gassing for me, and it's going to get me back up. Since we're set to 20 mile an hour, it's going to get me up to 20 mile an hour. And it's just going to keep like a safe distance between me and that Corvette in front of us. I kind of hate this regular driving like on the interstate when I'm cruising like 75 and the adaptive's on, because then it slows me down to the traffic in front of me, and it drives me insane. So for the most part, I have adaptive off. But if I'm going to be in traffic, stop and go, stuff like that, I turn it on, hit my cruise, because if you're in a traffic jam for a long period of time, this is just a really convenient way. So right now, it's just keeping pretty much at the same distance the sensors in the front of the truck knows. And the 2017, 2018s have the adaptive cruise where it slows you down. It doesn't have the feature that makes you come to a complete stop, and then once traffic goes, it goes. And then once the sensor knows that that car in front of us has taken off, it's gonna start going again. But that's all I got for you guys today. I just wanted to give you a quick little breakdown of my process for picking out my Gen 2 Raptor. Wrigley's bored out of his mind, so we got to get him so he can get on a walk. And yeah, if you guys have any questions below or having troubles deciding which generation Raptor to go with, anything like that, hit me down in the comments below. And we'll see you on the next one. Peace.